Hello folks, Deadset here, and today we're going to be talking about technique. Now, I doubt that many people will get into this particular video since I'm dealing with head modeling, and also the fact that there is no booty shaking fan service. However, we'll soldier on. So what I want to show you today is how I go from one single central shape that is modeled from a primitive to create most of my mammalian characters, especially the head. And what you see on screen is the shape that I will start with. So first, let's go ahead and create the shape. In the interest of time, I went ahead and sped up the video. It's a typical head modeling technique, so there's nothing new here or nothing you've never seen me do before. I just want to go ahead and get it to the base shape that I will start with. Furthermore, there will be no music in this video because it dawned on me how annoying it can be by watching others' videos, so this video will be quiet. And there we have it, the base shape. Now we're going to go ahead and use this base shape to model a human head. Now again, you've already seen me do this, so I'm just going to shuffle right through it and offer some brief explanations as to what's going on. If you don't know what's going on at this point, you would probably want to go back and look at an earlier video. But right now I'm creating my lips. We saw the edge loops around the orbicularis oris. Excuse me. Not the oris, but the nasolabial area, and the folds around the mouth, the lips, etc., etc. This is why I do polygon modeling, because I can get so much shape and form with very little polygons, something that is really hard to do in ZBrush and very difficult to retopo when you start with sculpting. Now the next thing I'm going to do is a dog head, if I can get my polygons to act right. There's a certain quirk in this program that needs to be fixed, but the program is dead, so I don't expect VisArt to do anything about it. The symmetry tends to go off track, so you will see me doing something like remirroring the geometry I do that often, especially when the symmetry goes off track. And I do that in the interest of expedience. But here we can see I started with that basic shape, and I'm already at the basic head shape of a dog. And you can see how the edge loops, how they resemble that of a human being. There's just more on the muzzle, whereas with a human being, there will be less geometry and more convergence around the nose and the mouth. With this dog-shaped character, there is more geometry to make the muzzle longer and less convergence around the mouth and nose. Now we're going to create the head of a bird, an eagle. And I have to admit, I ran into problems with this one because when I started modeling this animal shape, I was not using a reference. And yes, I broke the holy and divine law of any artist: use references. But I was trying to create this character from memory, this eagle, and I was failing miserably at it. But eventually I got the shape basically right, so you'll have to forgive me. But I went ahead later and finished it with a reference and got closer to the shape of the eagle's head, and we'll see that later. But again, the philosophy follows that from that base shape, I can pretty much get any mammalian species, whether it be whales, dolphins, I don't know, rabbits, cats. It doesn't really matter because they all follow that same pattern. Well, maybe not whales, their eyes are on the side of their heads, but most land-dwelling mammalian species can be done starting from the basic shape that I showed earlier in the video. So when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter whether or not I'm creating like this gargoyle that you see on screen. It came about the same way, the entire geometry basically. Or this orc that I have been recently working on, and I like the kind of gorilla-ish shape to the head, which lends the model strength. Again, started with that same shape that I began with. This female demon character also started the same way. And you can see, again, how the edge loops are almost exacting in their, I guess, in their shape and placement, just less polygons here. And even in this hybrid character where we have sort of a half woman, half cat dog thing, it's supposed to be a werewolf. I just hadn't finished adding all of the fur. But again, it started with that very first shape. I don't even have to create the shape anymore. I just save it and then build on it. And that's the technique that I use. It's very fast. You can finish a head model in roughly 20 to 30 minutes. And finally, we get the eagle that I began messing up on miserably, but eventually I went and looked at some references and got it relatively right. And so if you want to be efficient at this, if you want to not take hours on top of hours to create some of your more basic mammalian models, then find a technique that works for you. Find a shape that works for you and then build on that. That's a winning technique that you should implement in your 3D art.